Welcome to What Are Those, a show that explores the art of sneaker culture. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. Guys, I have an exciting show for you all today with an extremely exciting guest. But before that, I have to say this, and someone told me I need to start doing this, so I have to do it. Remember to subscribe here on YouTube, okay? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all right? That helps with the algorithm. That helps the show be seen. We could really use that. So subscribe to the podcast, comment on this, share this video, all of those things. All right. Subscribe to the podcast. Hit the notification button. That helps out. Okay. So on today's episode, I have a really great guest, someone that is a legend when it comes to sneaker design, when it comes to sneaker technology. Now, this show, when I decided to bring this show back, I really wanted to focus on community. I really wanted to focus on culture, right? Sneakers are obviously a big part of the show, but this is not a sneaker review show or anything like that. This is a culture show, okay? And this person and this brand is doing an incredible job of combining sneakers and experience and technology in a way that I think is just crazy, to be honest with you. And so, full warning, you're going to see me really geeking in this one and really, really like super excited. Like, I can't help it. This interview was so good. And the technology and just the thought process behind the stuff really gets me excited. I'm talking about Stephanie Howard. I'm talking about the legendary Stephanie Howard. She's worked with Nike. She's worked with Reebok. She's worked with Timberland, New Balance. That was the big one from earlier in her career. She's done some incredible things. And right now she's over at Instate, a company that uses blockchain technology and authentication technology to make sneaker experience and just experience 10 times greater than it is right now. We're talking about building community through sneakers in a real tangible way, like quite literally building community through sneakers. She's going to explain it to you. I'm super excited to get this interview to you guys. Stephanie Howard coming up right now. Hey, Stephanie.
Hi, so good to be here.
Glad to have you now. For the audience watching, I'm grinning ear to ear because I just think this is really cool. I'm going to say that you are a legend in sneakers. You definitely designed some of the coolest stuff, the New Balance 850 being one of them. What you guys doing over there in state? It's just so much going on. So Stephanie, let's just jump to the beginning. Tell me about how you got into sneaker design and into the sneaker world.
Yeah, it started in high school, but I wasn't thinking I would be a sneaker designer. I didn't even really know that job existed. I just was really liking art classes. But I also happened to be very good at math and science. And so, back in my day, like not that many people knew about jobs in design, but they knew about jobs in engineering. And so, I had thought, oh, I'll probably go into engineering, but I knew I loved art and I didn't know how to put those two together. And then I was lucky that one of my art teachers in high school told me about industrial design. And so once I looked into that, I said, oh, wow, it's really like both things that I feel like I have strengths in. And so I just only looked at schools that had that as a major and went to RIT and studied industrial design. And then when I came out of school looking in, I'm from New England, so I was looking in Boston and New York City. And, just through networking, landed a interview at New Balance. And then I got my very first job right out of school at New Balance. So I graduated in May and I was starting in July.
That's incredible. And you end up creating an iconic sneaker, the New Balance 850, which is one that many people love. What was it about that model, that silhouette, that really took off? What was different about that one?
Yeah, so we were excited about what we were seeing in the market, right? So running shoes were starting to be worn as, when we say as fashion, it wasn't the same in mid 90s as it is today when you think of sneakers as fashion. But they were being worn outside of just running, right? And so New Balance was, always all about performance. In fact, like you couldn't use the word fashion. That was the F word at New Balance,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Because we were designing shoes for performance. But I could
Yeah.
see that, people were excited about sneakers and wearing them outside of there. So
Right.
I wanted to create something fresh and new and not something that looked just like all the previous models at New Balance. And so I started doing a lot of sketching, and I felt a bit constrained by the N logo on the side of the sneaker,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I still love to this day because there's so much about New Balance I love, and I do love that N logo. But at the time I was thinking, oh, let me just sketch without it. So I started doing a bunch of sketches without it, and then got my team involved and said, what do you think of these? Everybody got excited. And so then we were able to design something without the logo because my manager at the time saw what I was doing and said, hey, why don't you present to the owner of New Balance? So that's Jim Davis.
Mm.
Why don't you present a case for how brands evolve over time? And but maybe we could do something here where we kind of involve the N. I made it, we have an NB logo, and if you've seen the flying NB logo, and then there's a N logo, and so I took the
Yeah.
the logo and changed it to like a flying N logo, and I just moved it. So I didn't take the logo off the shoe. I just kind of moved it to
Right.
the
Right.
back of the shoe off the side, and I have it here, so I can show you. So
I see it.
this is the re-release. So actually, when I'm talking about the N logo, so the original had just like that. So that's what I had created. So just the
Okay.
flying N, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
But so you can see now, this does not have the big N on the side.
Yeah.
And so it allowed me to do a lot more. I would consider this quite a maximalist design, which allowed me to do, a lot of pattern and overlays on the side. Um, and Jim Davis was just really, he's an independent minded person, and was,
Yeah.
eager to see what, really put a lot of trust in me. I think I was a very young designer. He gave me a lot of trust to do this. But yeah, I'm really excited about how it turned out. And then, of course, it was re-released in 2019. So, so
Yeah.
more and more people know about it now than kind of hid for a little while. So
Yeah.
this
And
is
you
the
talked
final
about
one.
it's beautiful, and you talked about like New Balance and how now it's a part of fashion. I'm from DC, so New Balance has always been a
Yes.
big thing here in DC. But
Yeah.
like, how do you feel about like the just to talk about that sneaker in particular, just one moment, and just like the
Hmm.
re-release of it, and kind of like a revisiting of the sneaker in more of a fashion sense and less of like oh well, it's a performance sneaker. It's people
Yeah.
wearing it because it looks fly. How do you feel about
Right.
that?
Oh, I mean, I've always been excited about people wanting to wear things for self-expression, right? And so, if we think something looks great and we feel connected to it, and we feel like it can help us express how we're feeling that day, like I love that. So I love designing shoes and products for performance, but I love as much that I'm creating something with a story that people are going to use to help them tell their own stories. So very excited about the fact that
Yeah.
that it was pulled into the fashion realm. Yeah, it's interesting how the even just the brand New Balance has changed over time. And I would say, like, after this came out, we had a few years where we were doing a lot of this type of kind of, I don't know what you might be called, maximalist design, and lots of overlays and colors
Mhm.
and different kind of different
Yeah.
kind of amorphous shapes, you could say, an organic looking product. Oh yeah, and here's
Yeah.
the inside of that. So yeah, lots going on, right? And then you mentioned
Uh-huh.
DC, but we noticed that
Mhm.
in DC and Baltimore area, and then I think Atlanta at the time, we started noticing that the retro models. So this is back in the mid '90s. The retro models were, really people were getting excited about those. So there was a shift after this came out. There was a shift back to the N on
Mhm.
the side of the shoe. So maybe like took 2 to 3 years, where we really ended up kind of focused on the N on the side of the shoe because there was that movement, and we could feel that, the excitement around the retro product for New Balance. And we understood like there
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
heritage that we hadn't been necessarily pushing or selling. Um, but again, as part of that
Mm,
self-expression, people were discovering on their own, like, hey, all
yeah.
this organic, oh, lots of overlays. That's interesting. But I also like this,
Yeah.
simple, clean retro product. So, and I like that both could live at
Yeah.
the same time, right? Because there's so many different people in the world and we all have different ways of
Yeah.
expressing what we want to express.
I love it. I love it. I think that's really, really, really cool. And I love when things retro and kind of make a comeback, right? And from there, would you say that kind of catapulted you and you were able to like work with other brands like Reebok and Nike and Timberland? Was that the one that kind of, I say, put you on the map?
Yeah, I was back in that time. There was a really small design
Mm-hmm.
studio, so there were just, I
Mm-hmm.
think, like when I first started, there were about four designers, and then I spent 3 years there, and I left. Maybe we were up to seven or eight designers, and I became the lead designer at some point in there. So I was heading up all the the design language and design direction, as well as designing a majority of the running shoes in the line. So I had a good portfolio, really big portfolio for someone so young. And it's probably still true today, but back then there were a lot of recruiters out there that were, kind of plucking people from companies and putting them into others. So that's what happened. So I ended up moving to Reebok from New Balance, and that was 1997. Um, yeah, and that was it was like a really interesting move because I was going from a small design team where I was really young, but the lead designer, to a much bigger team where just a much larger line of product, much bigger design team, and I was really excited. Like I felt like that was a smart move because I guess I knew a lot, but I knew that there was a ton I still didn't know. And so having leaders above me were going to be helpful for me to get to kind of the next step in my career. So I went to Reebok and just spent just a short amount of time there, 2 years, because then I got a call from someone at Nike and they had a position that was really exciting for me. And that was to lead their women's running. So I had been doing um, a lot of, I guess, all of my early career. It was both. I was working on both men's and women's product. And then this was the role at Nike that I started at was very specifically to lead um, women's running because they wanted to get insights into how women runners, had different needs than men runners. And so it just felt like a perfect fit, something that I was interested in. I was running, and so I made the move pretty quickly. So I didn't spend too much time at Reebok, but I did have an amazing journey there as well, and did some shoes that I'm proud of as well. I'm sorry, but I lost your sound. I can't hear you right now. I don't know why.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Who knows? How technology can be, right? I was saying that I just think it's cool that you've had the opportunity, as a sneakerhead and a person that talks about sneakers and enjoys them. We don't get to see how the sausage is made a lot. We don't get to see, especially
Yeah.
from the different bigger brands, And you're one of those people that's had a peek into the big brands, the Reeboks, the Nikes, the New Balances of the world, the Timberlands of the world. You've been able to look in and kind of see. And as a woman, I would say is super important as well. You spoke about how getting that opportunity in Nike to kind of run like the women's division and women's sneakers. And let's just be real, being a woman in this space. Um, how does that work into your design thought process, in your art thought process? Is that something that you think about, or is it just, hey, I'm proud to be a woman in this space, but it doesn't really like motivate how I design?
Yeah, I think it doesn't change how I design something. It's always good to be passionate about what you're designing. I think that's really the most important,
Mhm.
is that I have passion for it. So
Yeah.
in the time, when the women's running role opened up, I was running. I was like, okay, this one's easy. I fit in here. But from
Yeah.
there, I actually moved to a role as the design director for all of Nike hockey and Bauer hockey, because they own the hockey brands,
Ooh,
which was completely like
wow.
the majority of that customer's male.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I still have the same passion for it, because I really get excited about designing something for performance purposes, right? And so, like,
Yes.
if I can
Yeah.
talk to a bunch of athletes and understand what their needs are, and then
Mhm.
create something that helps them, but also has, like, an interesting aesthetic that looks different from what anybody else is doing. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's less about being a woman in terms of how
Mhm.
it affects how I design, and more about
Yeah.
just being really passionate and maybe empathetic. Like, I really want to get
Mhm.
into the shoes of who I'm designing for. I guess that was
Yeah.
a pun.
Yeah. That makes
But
perfect sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. And so I don't. I want to really get into in state what you're doing now. I
Hmm.
think that while learning about you, I realized that tech is a big part of what you do, um, which makes perfect sense with in state and all of the cool technology that goes along with it. Um, Please just tell me what in state is, how it works. I mean, because it's like one of the most interesting things in the world to me.
Thank you. Happy to talk about it. So Endstate is just a few years old. We started in 2021. And when we started, we were working strictly with, mostly with collaborations. And the technology piece is that we make
Yeah.
connected products. And so connected products means we put an NFC chip into the
Yes.
product. And it's not something that you see. It's very small. Like, so for this shoe right here, it's just under this label in the tongue. And you can
Yeah.
tap your phone to it. So you know how you tap a credit card to a credit card reader, and
Mm.
that's an NFC. So you just tap your phone
Yes.
to it. Most phones have an NFC reader in it, and it unlocks all this access, right? And so in the case of one of our
Yeah.
drops that we did something with Devonte Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. And
Yes.
so the sneaker became the
Yeah.
ticket, right? So in order to get in to meet him and have a meet and greet in person,
Hmm.
you would tap the phone to the chip in the sneaker, and that was how you get in to meet him. And it was right before his very first Super Bowl. And then
Yeah.
other perks that come with it,
Yeah.
that, depending on the drop that we do, um, content is a big piece of this. So if you tap your phone to, one of our sneakers, we do apparel. You pull up exclusive content. So when we're talking about access, like, it could be access to an event, access to an experience,
Yeah.
access to
Yeah.
exclusive content. And so we're doing something with a IndyCar racing team. And so it's all of their merch. So they did some sneakers, but also apparel and headwear, and everything has a chip in it. And so all the fans, if they go to a race, they can check in at the
Yeah.
race. And then they have,
Yeah.
perks related to being there, right? They get some extra
Yeah.
points, and then maybe they can win something special at the actual event. And then if you're watching from home, you tap in at home when you're watching, and you get, more points and rewards and content. And a lot of what the team is doing is putting, like, a lot of behind the scenes content that nobody else can see. So if you've bought into their merch, you're seeing what they, what's really happening behind the scenes with the team. You feel like you're part of the team. And so it's a big connection for fans, a way for them to engage in a new way, a way for brands to, when I say, yeah, actually, I should explain it. So we offer our technology to brands, right? So we make some of our own products, but now we're working with some of these bigger brands and teams and helping
Yeah.
them chip their products. So the technology is, a big part of who we are as a
Yeah.
company. We call that powered by Endstate. And
Yeah.
so, yes, we make our own sneakers, and yes, we make our own apparel, but the technology has been sought after by some of the big brands. And so now we're starting to help them tell their stories through their products. So you buy a product from a brand, you're a big fan of the brand, or maybe you're not. Maybe it's your very first product,
Yeah.
sneaker that you bought from somebody. you tap the chip, and now all of a sudden you're seeing exclusive content, or you're getting exclusive rewards, or you're getting an invite to an event that, because you bought that product from them, and so they're happy to have you as part of their inner circle.
See, so that's why I said this is like the coolest thing in the world, right? Because sneakers are
Thank you.
experiential for me, right? Like I have another show
Yeah.
called Sneaks in the City where I'm basically just like it's like a travel show. I'm going around Washington D.C. different areas, and the sneaks are featured, and like I can see that as like a virtual piece, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the idea of being able to talk to like my little brother or my little sister, being able to talk to like their favorite athlete, or me being able to talk to my favorite athlete, or
Yeah.
enter. But also a big issue within sneaker culture, which I know you're aware of, is fake sneakers, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that technology, I imagine you can use to authenticate sneakers. I know you all do it with
We
in-state, like,
do
and
it. Exactly.
yeah, like just talk to me more about that. Like the fun experiential part is a sell for me. I think anybody watching this will be like, that's cool as hell, right?
Yeah.
But that other piece for the sneaker head that gets burned on a fake pair of this or a fake pair of that, they spent thousands of dollars on it, that can
Yep.
potentially end that problem.
100%. That is one of the main things that we are doing with the chips. The first thing that comes up when you tap your phone to the sneaker is that it's authentic. It says status authentic, and it has the number of the product, and all of that information is stored in the blockchain. And so, it's immutable record of that one of one product. And so very important in the world of counterfeits. Very important. The future of resale is going to, involve chips, and we're going to be part of that with our technology as well. And so, absolutely, we are understanding the need for these, brands, and for any limited edition or collectible type of product has to have authenticity, and it has to be verified. And that's difficult to do, right? If you read some of the reports out there of
Yeah.
even verified sneakers on resale,
Yeah.
somebody has some third party person has checked all the stitching and sniffed the shoe and whatever they do, and they're still wrong a lot of the time, right? So having the chip in the sneaker is 100% the solution to that.
Look, there's a guy I watch. He comes with no disrespect to him on TikTok. He's buying sneakers all the time, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, yeah, this looks real. That's fake, man." I'm like, "Well, how did this and this tell you that the sneaker is fake?" Like, I don't trust it. So
Right.
on one end, you could, I could be trying to move a sneaker, and somebody's telling me, "Oh no, that's fake. I can tell. Don't look right." Or I'm getting burnt, as you said. It just eliminates all of that, and that to me is a big piece of it. But I also think the experiential part, the experience, the connectivity. I can see sneaker clubs, sneaker communities, forming from this. Web3, all of these things that when people talk about it, sometimes your eyes glaze over because you're like, I have no idea. Blockchain, meta, I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like right now, I have on smart glasses. Right, I have on the Meta smart glasses, and I can even see how that would. You all are the ones with the ideas, so I won't be. I get so excited when I think about that, because that's when we talk about the art of sneaker culture, and when you're explaining sneakers and fashion and just community to people that may not be into it. That's when you can say, hey, that's why this is cool. It's more than just spending all your money on designer things. It's an experience. And In-State, to me, feels like one of the first companies in a while that really offers a new 21st century experience to something, and I commend you all for that. I think that's just really, really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, we really do believe that as well. Like if you see, I always explain to young designers, right, that it's great to design for now, and it's great to design based on some seasonal trend forecast that you saw. But the important way to design is to see around corners and see what's on the emerging future. And what we see is that experiences are a big part of what people value. And so why can't we just turn the product into an experience? An example is that, this one is actually just launching next week. We have a launch party. So this is with a designer in, from India. And
Yeah.
so she does all apparel. She doesn't tend to do sneakers, right? And so this is her first sneaker. And so when you tap the chip, it gets, you get these different perks. And one of them is a design master class with this famous designer who, and so people who are interested in design have always bought her apparel. They get the sneakers, they're going to be able to, learn a lot more about what they're passionate about, which is design. And so every sneaker, every product that we do has a story very, very specific to, being in the inner circle of whoever the product is for. And so that turning the product into an experience, I think is a really important message that we're, explaining to people, because it's hard to understand it until you've lived it and kind of felt the experience. But yeah, so anyway, so this is comes in two colors. I'll show it since we're on a sneaker show. So a couple, and it's, and it has a very different, a very different look to it, right? Because this is about this designer. So this is about East-West fusion, right? And so I've kind of crisscrossed the details of the pattern. So there's a laser etching, like tattoo pattern here based on, sort of ancient tribes in India and all the tattooing and the henna tattoos and then, piercings kind of coming across here. So it has a very different look than anything, probably typically maybe on your show. That's because it has to feel like it belongs to Payal Singhal, who's the designer that I worked with. Like it has to feel like it comes from that connection. And so even here, there's the United States and India. You have to really, you won't just see that right away. Like you have to just kind of, understand there's like a little bit of an Easter egg there to find the details. So everything we do tells the story. The design tells the story of the product and the collaboration, and then the chip unlocks the experiences and the access.
Really cool. See, and so you have that tech portion of it, but also there's just like the classic design and just like storytelling that love the culture really get into. I think it's so cool. Thank you for showing those sneakers, by the way. That's just like really,
really cool. We're having a launch party in New York City on Tuesday next week.
Oh, very good. Very good. Shout out to everybody out in New York, man. I know it's going to be really, really cool. Thank you for doing it. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I know you had a lot of things to do. Thank you for carving out the time to do this show. Any just closing thoughts you want to leave the audience about In-State and just the future? You all represent the future of sneaker culture in a big way. Just sort of any closing thoughts you want to have about that?
I think everybody should just be, in the sneaker world, everybody should be thinking about why they're excited about the products that they buy, right? And so I love the idea of it being just a much more individual culture, right? Like I am who I am. I like these sneakers for this reason, not because everybody else has told me that these are the sneakers to like, right? And so I really like, I feel like it's moving a little bit more in that way. There's so much out there, so much product out there. So if we all kind of think about, what are we excited about in terms of our own personal growth, then what products do we want to, express ourselves with? And then, as you mentioned in In-State, like we believe that the technology of, having a deeper connection is important. And also that the products will become imbued with history, right? So the recorded history also is on the chip, right? It's been to this event. It met this designer or the athlete. It is, unlocked experiences that I've had. And so now this product becomes less of a disposable item, after I'm done wearing it, and becomes an heirloom product. And so I think that's an answer to sustainability as well, right? So when we think about the future, we think about the connected part of it, but also the sustainable part of it. And we believe that, this is where we're moving. And we're excited that brands are also joining us. And so we can bring this tech to a lot more people.
That's just cool. That's just like the heirloom, the see, yeah, that's just the wearable art piece of it. Again,
Yeah,
I had to warn everybody before. I'm grinning ear to ear because I just really like the nerd in me loves all of this. This is like so cool. Stephanie, I hope to have you
thank
on
you.
again. There's so much to talk about. There's a bright future, obviously, for the brand. If you just do me the honor of coming back on the show so we could talk about more stuff, that would be it would mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. This was a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks, you too.
So you see what I'm saying, right? That is like some of the coolest stuff. That again, that's why I love all of this, man. I could see utilizing that technology in so many ways, as I said on the show, man. Shouts out to Stephanie Howard. Definitely gotta have Stephanie Howard back on the show, man. Oh my God, so cool. All right. Again, remember to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, like all the videos, comment on the videos, share the videos. That helps me out so much. Okay. Thank you all for all the support. It's a slow burn. We're getting back to it. Thank you all for supporting this show, for supporting Sneaks in the City. It, you know that the Butler Did It brand is all about mental health and just kind of like making life a little easier and a little more fun and a little more easy to understand. So for me, bringing back the What Are Those show, doing Sneaks in the City, it's been so good for my mental health. And I thank you all for joining me on this journey. It really means so much to me. Okay. Remember to mind your personal health. Okay. Mind your mental health. It's so important. All right. Get out there. Get to the community. If you're in New York, go to the launch party if you can, right? Get out there, wear those sneakers, put on that gear, get fresh, go outside, get some air, enjoy yourself. Mind your physical health, all right? Mind it. It's super important. Get out there, get physical, do your thing, take care of yourself. That's all I want you to do. I just want you to take care of yourself so we could just continue to rock every single week and just enjoy this beautiful life that we were all blessed with, okay? Remember to do both of those things, and ladies and gentlemen, never, ever, ever forget to be great. I'm up out of here.